Joining us now, back with us this week, Jonathan Schanzer, Vice President of Research at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, and Jim Walsh with the MIT Security Studies Program. Nice to have you both back. We talked earlier in the week. We didn't have a deal. Now we have a deal, and we have you both back. So here we are.
Excellent.
Here's one of the parts of the deal that many of our viewers have questions about, and that is the inspection, specifically when it comes to military bases. Military bases were not part of the deal because, Jim, you pointed out to us before, very few countries would give just unfettered access to their military facilities. Jonathan, I'm curious what you think of the president's response about why a little bit of a delay getting into the military bases is okay and that we should go ahead and trust the deal.
Well, Jenna, frankly, I'm shocked by the president's assurances. I'm shocked by all the proponents of this deal who continue to make this argument that this is a sort of a slam dunk. It actually reminds me a lot of the people who talked about how the Iraq War was going to go so well. We have a horrible track record in trying to prevent countries from going nuclear when, in fact, they want to do it. When we talk about Pakistan or North Korea. And so there's a lot that can go wrong here. The fact that we could be pushed back by 3 weeks or more to gain access to some of these sites, that other sites are not going to be available to us at all, these should all be signs that there could be some very, very dangerous events coming.
It's confusing, Jim. On the one hand, the president says 24/7 access to certain sites. Then you hear from different reports that it could take 24 days or more than 20 days to get into other sites. What is the truth about inspections as you read it?
Yeah, I think it's mixing apples and oranges. It's two different things. But I must say, I can't resist saying, all those folks who said the Iraq War is going to be a slam dunk, it's those same people who oppose this nuclear deal. So if they got it wrong then, I don't have a lot of confidence that they're right now. But as to your point about there are two sets of facilities, two types of inspections. One is you have facilities that have been declared, they're already under IAEA inspection, even under the joint plan of action, which we're operating under now, which gets far stronger under the new agreement. IAEA can get into those anytime it wants, and a daily access for all declared facilities.
So Jim,
the ones you're walking about are the undeclared. If there were an undeclared facility and we had questions about it and it was on a military site, and this agreement allows for contrary to what the Iranians wanted, this agreement allows for inspections of military sites.
A process to get to that point. Let me just say with that the first inspections on known facilities. You know, here in New York City, if a health inspector wants to stop by a restaurant, or you have a fire marshal that wants to come by and check our fire alarm systems, or child safety wants to come by and check your household, they can just show up and knock on your door. Jim, can these inspectors do exactly the same thing, just show up and have access?
Yes, at declared facilities. In fact, it's stronger than that, because when they're not physically there are electronic monitoring devices. There are cameras, digital seals, and other things taking measurements so that if they were suddenly to increase the level of enrichment from 3% to even 5%, the IAEA would know almost instantly. Again, at declared facilities.
Jonathan, I'm curious your thoughts on this. Again, going back to your experience in the Treasury Department as well. We've also seen Iran not only attempt to make their own nuclear material, they say not for nuclear weapons, but we've seen them go out into the black market, and we've had a series of different reports of them working with North Korea or Russia or the otherwise, and shopping around for nuclear material. So even if Iran does follow what the deal is saying will be done, Jonathan, can Iran just go out and buy what they need for a nuclear weapon today?
Well, look, it's certainly possible. Part of the problem that I see with this deal is the number of IRGC, Islamic Revolutionary Guard companies, businesses, and individuals that are going to be delisted by the United States and by the Europeans. These are people that were demonstrably involved in nuclear procurement over the last several years. It's what earned them these Treasury designations. They are now going to be allowed back onto the system. This is remarkable. Now, in other words, they're no longer going to be punished for this activity. On top of that, the banks are going to be open to them. The SWIFT messaging system is going to be open to them. It's going to be a free-for-all for the IRGC, which has been committed to this nuclear program.
Let me ask Jim about that. Just breaking it down, these are bad guys doing bad things in the world. Can they just have access to a lot of money to go ahead and buy bad weapons, Jim?
You know, and I think the answer to that is no. It's interesting, even under the system we are operating in now, which is only going to get stronger and more intrusive under the new agreement, as Jonathan points out, we were already able to identify individuals and entities that were involved in illicit activities. That capability doesn't disappear. In fact, it gets better with a new agreement. Moreover, and I mentioned this to you earlier, Jenna, one of the big features in this that no one's talking about is the dedicated procurement channel. No other country has that in their inspection system. It's unprecedented. It's beyond what anyone has done. What it allows us to do is track imports and exports, anything related to nuclear, could be related to nuclear, into the country, so that if they import something and it doesn't show up at the address that it was supposed to, we're going to know about it.
Interesting. Just quickly before I let you go, it feels that perhaps we don't have to get into the details so much of the deal in this way. When I look at viewers' questions, gentlemen, it's really just about trust. And I'm just going to end there with both of you, because this is what the president is going to have to answer today. Jim, you first. Jonathan, you second. Why should we trust this deal? Why should we trust our own leaders? And why should we trust the Iranians?
Well, I don't think we need to trust the Iranians. We didn't trust Muammar Gaddafi when President George W. Bush had a nuclear nonproliferation agreement with him. We didn't trust the Soviets, for God's sakes, when we had arms control with them. This is about verification. That's why this dedicated employment channel, doubling inspectors, all this sort of thing, is because we don't trust them. But history shows you don't have to have trust to have an effective agreement.
Jonathan?
We absolutely shouldn't trust them. This is a monstrous state sponsor of terrorism, and the record of nuclear mendacity is just staggering. And now we're about to give them more than $100 billion, where they will be able to spread that money to terrorists. And then in another 10 years, they'll be able to break out with a nuclear weapon as well. It's a really, really bad deal.
Well, that's one of the things that the president's going to have to talk about today, a question about what happens after 10 years when Iran can just go ahead and get the weapon, because in certain parts of the deal, it doesn't extend that long. Other parts, it extends longer. Jim, Jonathan, great to have you both. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pleasure.